this video today is going to be about how to live a more positive, uplifting life, especially with Corona and lockdown and things like that going on. It isn't easy for anyone right now, not just people who already suffer with mental health issues. I'm not naturally a positive person. I have a tumour on my brain. I'm suffering with postpartum depression. And I know that a lot of people have also got, chronic illnesses and things like that that just make life a little bit more difficult on a daily basis. And then you throw in things like lockdown and quarantine and virus and all these restrictions, and it can become a really dark place. So there are things that I've had recommended to me by the therapist that I used to see when I first had my daughter, and then things that I've just done through research on these people. Like if there's an issue, I'll research it. So I'm just going to share some tips with you. There's 7 tips altogether. You can start them today. The only thing I want to remind you of is that they do say, by they, I don't know who they are, but these scientific studies that they do, one of the things that I've read a lot when I do try and look up anything is that it takes 21 days for the mind to really process a new habit. So if you're giving up coffee, for example, cigarettes, the reason people tend to fall off the wagon is because they'll go 3 or 4 days and then just give in. You've kind of got to push it for that 21-day period for your mind to absorb it, and also before you start to really see results. You're not going to do one of these tips, wake up tomorrow and all your problems are cured and those inner demons are gone. That's not going to happen. You are going to have to work at it. But there are things that are really easy, and I'm a mom of a 2.5-year-old, so having anxiety and panic attacks and things like that, they're not only not easy when you've got someone else to take care of at the same time, but they're also not something that I want her to see and pick up on, because they learn from those behaviours. So this is something that's helped me so much that in the past 12 months I no longer have to see the therapist I had to see from having postpartum depression. I'm able to manage on my own. My doctors, they're good, they keep an eye on me and things like that, but I'm able to just manage it on my own now. I can calm down panic attacks when they come in and things like that, and a lot of that has been through these tips, which I'm going to share with you now. So tip number 1 is to practice gratitude. You probably see this a lot on Instagram. It's become quite a big thing, I think, with the pandemic, and I have people giving out more positive tips and things like that to live a better life, and one of them that comes up virtually every day on my feed is about gratitude. So I have a to-do list, these page-a-day diaries, and at the very top there's a small section where it will give you the day and the date. Above that, I always write 3 things every morning before I do my to-do list that I'm grateful for. I find that being a mom, my to-do list is long, plus because she takes up so much of my time, I forget and I have to keep looking at my list again and think, what else have I got to do today? By having those 3 things at the top, it means that every single time I check my list, I am reminded of these 3 things at the top that just put a smile on my face that day. So that's something I definitely recommend to you. It will probably be hard at first, especially if you're in a really, really bad place, but you'll learn that as you force yourself to think of 3 things, even more things will come to you more easily, and you'll be grateful for things that you didn't realise you actually should be grateful for, but you should be. So that's tip number 1. Tip number 2 is to, when you go to bed at night, write down, whether you journal or you just have a notepad, or again in your little to-do list. At the bottom every night I always write down 3 of my wins that day, because life gets hectic and I think we all try and cram too much in. We all try and compete with each other, we have all these high expectations and everything, but in reality, if you have a 9-to-5 job, or you have children to raise, you have school drop-offs and after school classes and all these things, getting everything on that list done is pretty difficult. So I found that what I was doing that was making my anxiety worse is I would look at my list and I've only marked like 3 things off. Rather than focusing on those 3 things that got done that day, I'm looking at all the things in the list that I didn't get done, and then I'd feel lazy and feel like I was not doing enough. Instead now, every night I write down the 3 things, and usually one of them is just that I kept my kid happy that day. She's a toddler, so she's at that clingy stage. She doesn't really have the concept of playing by herself. She always likes to have me to play with, which is fine, but obviously limits the things I get done in my day. but that's fine, because raising her right now is the most important thing, so that goes on my list. So whatever it is that you've done that day, even if you just went for a walk, you know, if you have mental health issues or you're scared of the whole corona thing right now, going out for a walk can be quite challenging for you. So if you've done that, great, write it down on your list, and just try and be kinder to yourself about the things that you have got done that day, rather than the things that you don't get done, because most of us write down so many things that we're never going to get them all done. So that's number 2. Number 3 is to drink more water. I know it's one of those things that fitness people put out there all the time and it gets eye rolls and everything, but if you think about it, our bodies are virtually mostly made up of water, which shows how important it is that we constantly keep hydrated for our bodies to run well. So one of the things that I learned is I have a brain tumour and I get headaches, quite not as much now, but I used to get headaches all of the time. And so I would keep going back to the doctors, and he's like, you know, you can have headaches due to that, but I think that's more where you are, you know, sort of, I'm in bed all day and I'm really ill. But the headaches I was going complaining with were just, you know, those niggly ones that you get like right here or at the back of your head, or they're there all day. And he said, I think that the reason that you get all these other ones that don't ever really go away is because I think you're dehydrated. So I make more of an effort to drink more water and things like that, and I actually reduce the amount of headaches that I get. It also goes to say that, you know, being dehydrated doesn't just affect things like headaches, it affects things like, you know, if you're having digestion problems, we've got a dead leg. If you have digestion problems, that can be through not keeping hydrated enough. And you know, if you have skin problems, that can also be through not being hydrated enough. And one of the things is, if your body's not working properly, you know, if you've got a lot of stomach pain, or you're constantly bloated, or you're struggling to use the bathroom, you've got headaches, or you know, your skin's not very clear and things like that, it just makes you feel shit, basically. So trying to keep your body hydrated will hopefully help just eliminate some, you know, maybe skin blemishes you have, some body issues you may have, including things like headaches, stomach cramps, all that sort of stuff. And if you can eliminate some of those issues, then you'll feel more positive in yourself. The 4th thing is sort of similar to that. It's more self-care, and I don't mean like putting on a face mask or, you know, taking a bubble bath. I mean things like, you know, if you know you have an issue, make an effort to research ways to curb that issue. Now, not everything needs medication, not everything needs appointments and things like that, and especially with the pandemic right now, obviously going to your doctor for every little thing, just it's not appropriate and it's not going to happen. So it's important to research conditions that you have and try and make an effort to ease those situations so you have a better life. Again, I go back to my headaches, and something that really helps me, and I'd had it recommended a few times and I sort of did an eye roll, was to eat almonds. So every day I have 14 almonds. It's a specific number, I know, but 14 almonds. It helps reduce headaches. I had to do it for about a week before I saw a difference, but I can see the difference. It's reduced my headaches. My entire family, well, majority of my family have arthritis or some form of arthritis, either in their fingers, their hands, their back, their knees, and so on. So because I'm constantly worried I'm going to get it, I try and make sure that I keep my joints, you know, loose. I do a lot of yoga and things like that, just to try and help those situations maybe not come on, or not be so severe when they do come on. You know, so if you have something like asthma, for example, make an effort to really research it properly. You know, change things like perfume, or don't wear perfume. Change things like the cleaning products that you use. I use eco in this house because of my daughter, and because I'm vegetarian. So I like to just try and do everything as naturally and just healthily for myself, my daughter, and the environment as I can. But you wouldn't realise till you research just how bad some of the chemicals in the bigger name brands actually are for you, and if you have asthma, they can be really bad. My daughter's dad, when he did live with us, he's got very bad asthma, and once I read about this stuff, eventually I picked up that once I'd clean the house that day, he would just struggle a lot more to breathe. He would have a really sore throat. He would complain about his eyes or his ears, and I put a lot of that down to it's probably affecting his asthma because of the chemicals that were being used. So obviously, if you have some sort of chronic illnesses, I'm not saying that you make a little life change and everything's going to go away. That's just not probably going to happen. But you could probably ease some of those things by just paying a bit more attention to some of the things that you do struggle with. Back pain, for instance. Look up some of those things. Don't rely on just medication, because your body becomes used to medication, and then your chronic illness is just kind of going to stay the same. If you can ease some of those symptoms that you have, you'll have a better life, hopefully. Number 5 is to get more fresh air, especially with COVID-19. When we first started isolating, I didn't want to take Jasmine out for a walk, because I know they said you could exercise for like so many minutes a day or whatever it was. Can't quite remember that far back now. But I remember just thinking like, well, okay, but like standing 2 meters apart or walking 2 meters apart, like that's just, I don't think that's far enough. Like, sure, if someone's coughing, it's going to get in the air. You're going to, like the flu, right? You're going to absorb it. So it's probably about 2 or 3 weeks before we really took her for walks anywhere. And I noticed my mental state start to kind of deteriorate. Fortunately, we have a garden, and it's a beautiful garden, so we are able to go out in that. But if you don't have that, do try and make sure that you go for walks. Again, whoever they are, so that you're supposed to get 20 minutes of sort of like sun exposure, fresh air a day, which helps things like lift your mood. It also helps your skin, which I know sounds crazy because you think of sun and you think of skin cancer, but actually it can help with things like psoriasis and eczema and all those sorts of things. And obviously it does help your mood, walking around nature. And that, I live in England, so you don't always want to be walking around nature here. It can get pretty cold and wet, but I now make an effort to at least open a window. Not enough that me and my daughter are going to get the flu or anything like that, but just enough that there's just sort of clean, fresh air just kind of coming into the house for a little bit, and you'll be surprised how much of a difference it really can make. So yeah, try and get a good 20 minutes a day of fresh air. Even if it's sitting in your garden, take the dog for a walk, that's a good excuse. Or just open a window, by the sofa, and just have your tea there and just take in some of that fresh air, because the air in our home, it gets stale, and when it doesn't feel very fresh, it's not going to make you feel very good either. And then number 6, what number I was on then? Number 6 is to do something each day that you love. That can be anything. And I know it's difficult, especially if you have a child, because they take up a lot of our time. But when Jasmine goes to bed, I make an effort to read for half an hour, because reading is something that it just relaxes me. You don't really have to think about it, so it's something that I can just kind of get lost in for 30 minutes, and it relaxes me, and it helps me just kind of wind down at the end of the day. But it can be anything. I also exercise, so I make sure to exercise so many times a week, and at least twice a week. Not as much as I used to, unfortunately, but twice a week I make the time to do yoga, and it's something that I look forward to. It's something like 20 minutes that I probably managed to fit in, but I do it. So it can be literally anything, even if it's just having, it makes me smile now because I think of my granddad. Something he used to love to do is he was obsessed with tea. Like, he would drink a kettle full of tea to himself. So his thing every day was a cup of tea before he went to work, when he got back from work, just sitting there. There's always, my nan was always making tea. So even if it's just something like sitting there with a cup of tea and watching some trashy TV show that's on, do that. Because if you always think, oh, I can only do it, on a Sunday when I've got no work to do, or the kids are at their dad's, or the kids are at their grandparents', if you think about it, there's only 52 weeks in a year, so that's only 52 times that you just take that bit of time to do something that you really enjoy, and that's not a lot. 52 times in a year is not a lot. So try and find that joy every day. I have a theory that the reason my daughter is so happy is because she does everything she loves every day, And she's that typical 2.5-year-old where we can do 20 activities. She just doesn't stop. She goes, I don't know what she drinks, but I need some. She just does not stop. She goes from one activity to the next, and like from the moment she gets up, she no longer naps. That's great. To the time she goes to sleep, it's just constant. And they're obviously all things that she loves, you know, Peppa Pig, colouring. I think that's just why she's like, she doesn't take after me at all. She's such a bubbly, vibrant little girl, and I think it's because all day long she's just doing everything that she loves and everything that makes her happy. In the real world, as adults, we can't do that, but we can take some time to just do a little something that makes us happy. That was long-winded, but so that's tip number 6. And then tip number 7 is, if you want to say no, just say no. It's easier at the moment with the pandemic, of course, because we can't really go out. But I'm not a very social person. I can one-on-one, if we connect and we can have a conversation, as you can probably tell, I can talk for England, I can ramble, I can talk about anything and everything. And you'd have a hard time getting me to shut up. But in big group settings, I struggle. And I'm one of these people that I'm working on it, because I'm conscious of my daughter constantly watching me. But I kind of have a bitch face. And I know some of you are probably watching this thinking, yeah, we know. Or nobody's watching this and I'm just talking to myself. But yeah, I get a resting bitch face, particularly with people that I'm not keen on. And I don't bully people, you know. I will make an effort, I will be civil, I believe in being civil. But I've had people come up to me and go, you don't really like them, do you? I'm like, why? And they'll say, because I can tell by your face. So then I'm conscious, if I go somewhere and I know that I don't really want to sit with those people, but I have to, I'm then conscious of my face. So the whole time I'm stressing, I'm anxious, I'm thinking, am I making enough effort? Do I look like I'm being mean? Do I look like I can't be bothered? Am I ruining it for people? So then before I even go to an event, I'm already got this pent up anxiety, and then I resent the person that's invited me to the event. So my thing now is, if I don't want to go, if I've got other things I'd rather be doing, or if there's people there that I know probably won't bring out the best in me, I just say no. I used to blame a lot on my health issues, and they do. I mean, let me tell you, they do get to you, you know, postpartum depression. It's exhausting. Anxiety, it's exhausting. Having a tumour, it doesn't just give me headaches, it gives me pain in my neck, my shoulder, my back. You know, and before I had my daughter, some days I would spend 3 or 4 days in bed, not even necessarily sleeping, just I couldn't take the light. It was like a migraine multiplied by 100. By 100,000, that's how bad it was. Like, I couldn't eat, I couldn't sleep. Obviously, when you have a daughter, and her dad and I co-parent very well, but he works at the moment. He doesn't because of, you know, the lockdown. But before then and after then, he works in a hotel. So his hours are long and they're early till late. So he can't just take time off and have her. He can't have her every night because he needs his sleep as well. So I don't always, you know, I can't obviously just sort of lie in bed for days and recover. So I have to really be in the right mindset to want to go out, because it does take a lot of energy at times, especially if there's loud music or flashing lights kind of trigger my migraines a lot. So I would always be stressed about that. I'd be stressed knowing that the next day I'm probably going to have a really bad headache for a few days, and then who's going to look after my daughter if her dad was at work that day. So I would get really stressed out. So I would sometimes just blame it on the headache or something, even if I didn't necessarily have one. And then I was speaking to my mum one day, and I was like, you know what, I'm not even going to lie to you, I just don't want to go. And they said, you do know 9 times out of 10 we know you just don't want to go. You don't have to actually lie to us. If you don't want to go, you just say no. At least then, because before I would say like, oh, it's the headache, so yeah, I'll probably come if my head goes off. But the problem with that is you're kind of making yourself unreliable, because you're telling somebody yes, you'll go. Eventually they're going to start to know that when you say yes, you mean no. And I'd rather not give people that impression of me. If I say yes, I'll be there. If I say no, I'm not going to go. So there's nothing wrong with me wanting to stay home and I don't have my kid and catch up on housework, or take a bath, or watch a movie, or work on a project that I want to work on. That's okay. And I think people respect you more because you're not letting them down. They weren't expecting you to go, so they might be disappointed. But I think it's a lot better than saying yes when in their minds they know, because you've said yes 10 times already and cancelled 10 times, that you probably mean no. They'd probably rather you just said no, and then they don't have that extra disappointment afterwards. So yeah, tip number 7 is, if you want to say no, just say no. Everyone else is still going to have a great time. People are still going to enjoy themselves. They may miss you, but they're still going to enjoy themselves. You're not going to stop them having fun. You're not responsible for their happiness. And it's better than sitting there kind of moping or with resting bitch face because you don't want to be there. So tip number 7 is to just say no. So this video, I can see my little timer up there, it's a lot longer than I thought it was going to be. I have to work on the rambling. I ramble a lot. But they are just 7 really easy tips that don't cost any money, that you can literally start today. Do them for 21 days and just see how much of a difference it makes. So it's not going to cost you any money, and you haven't got to go out and buy equipment to do this or supplies to do this. You've literally just got to get fresh air, practice gratitude, practice, making an effort to write down your wins each day rather than focusing on the few things that you didn't get done. A little bit more self-love. Just work on those things for 21 days and just see what a difference it makes. You've literally got absolutely nothing to lose. And with the situation that we're faced with right now, I've seen some really strong people that I know. I could tell by their posts, I could tell by their text messages to me. They're kind of going downhill a little bit, and I think it's just because we've all kind of forgotten to be a little bit, that we've got to work extra hard at being positive at the moment, because we're not necessarily getting it from people that would have given it to us or from places that we could have gone to. So give them a try, and I really hope that everyone improves their mental health, improves their mindset, and we manage to get through the rest of this situation, crisis, whatever you want to call it, and come out the other side maybe a little bit better and a little bit more improved. Thanks for watching.